What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe. It will help me out so much. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of buying a home in the year 2022. Whether if it's worth it or not, you decide. So let's go ahead and begin. Alright, so we're going to start off with the cons, the negatives. So if you buy a house right now, everything is overpriced. Okay, so if you buy a house right now, you have that risk of having the market collapse, the big market crash, but nobody knows when it will be. Okay, so that's a risk that you have to calculate for yourself, whether or not if you're willing to risk it or not. That's up to you. The second con is the interest rates are really high right now. Back in early December, the interest rate was still at around 2.83%, which is almost at an all-time low compared to back in 08, 09. And fast forward to 2 months later, back in April, May, that's when the interest rates went up like crazy because everybody's buying left and right. So the government, the Federal Reserve, they had to do something to slow it down. So they had to raise up the interest rates. A lot of people stopped buying, okay? But people are still buying, don't get me wrong. But a lot of them stopped because of the interest rate. Not because they didn't want to buy it, but because they couldn't afford it. It went from a 2.8 to about over a 5%, depends on your credit score, right? And that's a big jump. And I did some calculations. If you're buying a $400,000 house, let's say your mortgage is $2,000 a month. And that's with a 2.8%. And since they raised it to over 5%, that becomes $2,400 a month. So that's a $300 to $400 extra. And not many people have that much money extra to put in a house, right? Because they could just afford a $2,000 home. Next thing you know, it becomes $2,400. Not many people can afford that, okay? If you can afford that, that's good for you. If you can't, that's just how it is, right? Inflation. The third con is it intertwines with the second one. So since the interest rates are really up there, and if you do decide to buy a home and you do get approved, your budget will be so tight because you're paying so much on your mortgage, right? You don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck just to buy this home, okay? But that's true. That's ultimately up to you. You have to do your calculations. Yeah, you have to make sure that your budget is perfect for whatever your lifestyle is. And if you want to live paycheck to paycheck, that's completely up to you. But if you can make it work, right? So let's go ahead and begin with the pros. I know that I listed having a high interest rate as a con, but it's also a pro to some people because, hear me out, this is why. Having a higher interest rate in this market means that there's going to be a lot less people wanting to buy compared to back last year or early this year in December when the interest rate was really low. There were so many people buying. There would be like 10 offers on one property and people would offer $20,000 over the listing price, which that's what really drove up the market by so much. So that could be a good thing too for you. If you're trying to buy a house, this is a good time to buy because there's no competition, right? There's a lot less competition. I shouldn't say there's no competition. There's a lot less competition. So that works out for your favor. So the second pro is a lot of people are saying that the market's going to crash soon. It's going to crash soon. So it's all about how you look at things, okay, from your point of view. So let's look back in history. In 2007, 2008, that's when the market crashed, right? So what if we're still in the early 2000s? Say we're in 2003. So we still have 4 years that it's still going to go up. Because back in 2016, everybody was telling me already, oh, the market's going to crash, the market's going to crash. It's going to crash this year, it's going to crash next year, right? It was all hearsay. People said this, people said that. I could be wrong. We could be in the year 2007. Or we could be in the year 2000. You just never know. So that could be a pro also on how you look at things, okay? And the last pro that I have, if you buy a house now, just think about it this way. If you buy a house now, let's say you buy a house for $400,000 and knock on wood, the market does crash. Just don't sell your house. You only lose the money if you sell your house. So you bought your house for $400,000. Let's say it does crash to $200,000, right? So in about 10 to 15 years, the charts show that the economy tends to go up over time, okay? So when it did crash in 2007, 2008, fast forwarded to now, about 15 years later, the market boomed and you got the money back, okay? So just think about the long term. If you do buy the house now, and if it does crash, just make sure you stay in there until you get the money back, or just stay in there for 30 years and retire there. So it's all about how you look at things, okay? I always look at things this way. The glass is half full, okay? If you guys ever heard that saying before. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment them down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.